By the end of this video, you'll know the 5 questions you absolutely need to know that will transform the way you look at your financial goals. I'm going to explain the types of financial goals to avoid and then how to create financial goals that will improve your overall financial health. And if we haven't met before, I'm Tim Fraticelli, and on this channel, we talk about career and financial topics to improve your overall financial health. And today, we're talking goals. Now, a lot of you know that I'm a physical therapist that transitioned from a career in finance to PT, and that I love talking to PTs and PT students about money and finance. Now, you would think it would be second nature for physical therapists to develop amazing goals when it comes to their finances, just like we create goals every day with our patients in the clinic. But what if in the clinic, as a physical therapist wrote down the goal, the patient will get better, or the patient will just get stronger? I mean, those are pretty terrible goals. And when you think about it, those goals aren't really much better than the financial goals we set that say something similar like, I want to get better with money, or I just want to get out of debt. Because even though you have good intentions with those broad goals, and I fall into this trap sometimes as well, those financial goals really they're not good enough. And in order for our goals to be effective, they need to be a lot more specific. So avoid those types of broad goals like, I want to be financially independent, or I just want to make more money. And I'm going to assume that you know about the SMART goal formula, which is to make goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. That's a very easy framework that you can follow, but I want to give you 5 questions that you can ask yourself that are going to help you identify the financial goals that matter the most to you. And then you could use that SMART goal framework to create your goals, but these 5 questions, they are going to change the way that you think about approaching your financial goals. And like a physical therapist would during an evaluation with a patient, just casually talking about questions that matter the most to them, these focused questions can really help guide the conversation for you to go in the right direction with your financial goals. So let's dive into these 5 questions to guide your financial goal writing process. And that first question is this: what matters the most to you? Is it your family, or freedom to be independent in your work, travel, or your living situation? Or maybe your career is really important to you, or your business, or taking vacations every year, or maybe giving to charities. And I know these sound like really high-level goals to think about what's important, but imagine if I were to make a huge list of goals for a patient of mine who just had a total knee replacement, and I started writing out things like the patient will get back to hiking, or get back to work, mowing the grass, and all those things may sound like decent goals unless you learn that he didn't really have any interest in any of those activities. Because I didn't take the time to ask about the high-level goals that mattered to him, I created these goals that are absolutely worthless. The same goes for creating financial goals. Saving $10,000 is a great accomplishment, for example, but if we tie it to something that is really valuable to us, it makes it much more relevant and easier to stay focused. Maybe you want to start a business, but you're afraid to because you have no savings. A goal like, I will save $10,000 in the next 12 months in order to fully fund my emergency fund, that type of goal aligns directly with one of the things that matters the most to you. Having financial security of an emergency fund to give you peace of mind as you work to build your business. Or maybe traveling with your family or your partner every year is really important to you. And even though you're on a tight budget, you find ways to trim your expenses and then automate your savings each month into an investment account like Betterment or Acorns. So one of your financial goals turns into, I will start an automatic savings transfer of $50 a month to our vacation fund by July 31st. And now that's something you can work towards and sort out because you've given yourself a deadline and you've made a goal that's actually relevant to something that's important to you. And it doesn't make any sense to watch a video of 10 financial goals you should meet by the time you're 30 and then copy and paste those goals if they don't match up with the things that matter most to you. So that leads us into the second question to ask, which is this: what gives you the greatest sense of joy or fulfillment? Now, there might be a little overlap here with the first question, and that's okay. When you think of these questions, I like to think of my hobbies, my side businesses, staying active with exercise, or spending time with my family. And for you, that might include working in your yard, or playing golf with your kids or your friends, or maybe playing guitar or teaching your kids something, whatever it is. And I think it's really important to write these things out because they can be really good sources to help us to create financial goals that are relevant and meaningful and related to the things that actually bring us joy and fulfillment to our life. For example, a financial goal to save $1 million by age 50, that's really just a meaningless goal. But save $1 million by age 50 so I can reduce my work hours by 50% and spend more time with my family taking vacations while my kids are in high school, well, that's a lot more meaningful because it ties into the elements of our life that bring us joy or fulfillment. So we give ourselves the greatest opportunity here to achieve these goals when we make goals that can be directly tied to things that have the most impact in our life. What do you think is a better financial goal for a physical therapist who's looking to develop professionally? I will invest $150 a year in self-education, or I will invest $150 in training to learn how to write better documentation faster so I can ultimately spend more time with my kids in the evenings. I mean, almost instantly you turn this career development goal into a conduit that's going to help you do things that are more fulfilling in your life. And that goal actually matters to you because you've added a personal why behind that goal. And you can do that with a lot of your financial goals or career goals if you take the time to think about that question of what brings you the greatest sense of fulfillment or joy. And if you're a physical therapist and you like that goal, you can check out the efficient documentation course I'm talking about in the description below. All right, on to the third question for making better financial goals. And that third question is this: what is it that keeps you up at night? What are the things that you worry about? Is it debt or your career path? Maybe it's your family or your kids or your current living situation. And I know this is difficult to think through, but just like when we talk about obstacles with our patients in the clinic, we need to be honest with ourselves and write out what it is that we're afraid of, or the things that make us feel worried or uneasy when it comes to our career or our finances, because sometimes when we write down our biggest fear, like losing our job or not having enough money to put food on the table or pay rent, it can work in our favor in a couple of ways. Number one, there's an odd piece about identifying the worst that can happen and then asking, okay, so then if the worst happened, what would I do? Because a lot of times we just stop before thinking it through and we simply dwell on this fear or the negative aspect of the issue. But if we take the time to say, okay, the worst actually happened, then I would do this, you give yourself a chance to come up with a possible solution instead of getting lost in this constant cycle of worrying. And the second reason why writing down those things that keep you up at night is important is because we can use those fears to motivate us and to propel us into action. Look, I'm not saying that it's okay to live in fear or to dwell on the things that make you fearful or worried about what's going to happen in your life, but the truth is that fear is a primal instinct and our brain uses it to incite a fight or flight response when we face situations that are dangerous or when we feel threatened. But when it comes to our career and our finances, when we have a financial plan that's built with goals that are grounded in relevant aspects of our life, like the things that matter to us, we can face these fears that come with even more confidence because we actually have a plan of attack. And we're not facing the enemy or fears without a plan. We have a financial plan. We created it by asking ourselves the hard questions now so that when uncertainty creeps its ugly head in, we can look at the plan and choose how to respond. And that mentality especially applies here when it comes to investing because the stock market is going to bring a lot of uncertainty at times, but when you identify those things that might bring you the most fear or uncertainty, and then you think through a plan and how it relates to your financial goals, our ability to make better financial decisions will increase exponentially. So don't ignore the things that scare you or keep you up at night. Identify them, use them in your financial plan to keep you on track to meeting the goals that you have set. And don't worry, I'll give you a link to download the worksheets to guide you through these questions at the end of this video. Just make sure you hit the like button if you enjoy what we're talking about so far. Okay, that fourth question to ask when creating financial goals is this: what obstacles have kept you from financial success in the past? A lot of times when I talk with a new patient in the clinic, I'll ask them if they've ever had physical therapy before and if it's helped. And sometimes people will say, yeah, I've done physical therapy, but none of it works. Or some of them will actually say, I like when you go to physical therapy and you get a massage, but I don't like doing the exercises because my body just doesn't respond to those. And immediately we start seeing some of the obstacles that have been keeping them from achieving success in physical therapy in the past. And some of these factors are just limiting beliefs. And they can happen with our finances too, because they prevent us from making that progress towards our goals that we know we can absolutely achieve, but we're just never going to if we hold on to those limiting beliefs. So by asking yourself, what are the obstacles that have kept me from financial success in the past? We might identify things like these statements, where I might say, I'm just not good with money, or I'm not a numbers person, and I'm not really good with accounting, or I grew up really poor or middle class and I didn't learn how to manage my money well. Those types of things, those are just limiting beliefs. And in the same way that fear can take over and keep us from making good financial decisions, these limiting beliefs, this mindset can become a huge roadblock when it comes to achieving our financial goals. And that's why it's so important to write down those obstacles and those self-limiting beliefs and to look at them head on and realize that you don't have to conform to those thoughts. Now I actually view it as a challenge when someone comes into the clinic and says, I've tried everything and nothing works. Because as a physical therapist, I know that our bodies are wonderfully adapting machines that actually get stronger when we do the exercises and do them correctly. And while you may not have had success in the past at other physical therapy clinics, don't accept the obstacles as truth. that physical therapy doesn't work. And the same is true for our finances. I mean, we identify these obstacles that have kept us from success in the past. We just use them to develop mental strength and greater fortitude to keep learning and pushing towards our financial goals. All right, the final question that will help you create better financial goals is this: what am I willing to do or to give up now to meet these goals? Look, there's no question, I love making goals, and it can be fun to think ahead to what life could be like down the road, but these goals are all just worthless if I haven't identified the trade-offs that have to happen in order for me to achieve those goals. There's always going to be a trade-off, and it's usually a struggle to go against the path of least resistance, the things that are easiest to do, but may not be the actual steps we need to do or take to achieve our goals. So let's stack the deck in our favor here and create systems that help us take the small steps we need to achieve the goals that we're setting. So what are you willing to do now to meet the goal to save $10,000 in your emergency fund this year, for example? We can easily break down that goal to a monthly amount, or better yet, we can take some quick math to figure out that it's about $385 a paycheck. And now that we understand that the trade-off, or the fact that we need to save $385 per paycheck in order to meet our financial goal, we can set up an automated transfer of $385 to our savings account the day after our paycheck hits the bank. And even better, we can automatically have that money go into an investment account like Betterment so that your money grows automatically and it's out of sight, out of mind. Because if we get into the habit of creating systems like this, then we can eliminate the need to physically make a decision to transfer money each month to meet our financial goals. It's why companies create automatic enrollment into their 401k programs, because they know people have a better chance of saving money for their future if their account is automatically opened by default. There's all sorts of ways to create financial systems, from setting up autopay on your credit card, automatically increasing your 401k contributions, or even rounding up your expenses and investing the change through apps like Acorns. The point is to create systems to help you achieve the things that you know you have to do in order to meet your financial goals. Start by asking yourself those 5 key questions, write down your answers, then look at how those answers fit into a 1, 2, or 3-year plan. And you can make longer projections and goals, but think about what you can do now, because it's going to be a lot easier to set and then to keep those goals for 5 to 10 years if you practice shorter term goals for 6 months, a year, or 2 years. It's kind of like why we make short-term and long-term goals with our patients in the therapy clinic and track them weekly throughout our treatments. And you may not need to look at your financial goals weekly, but write them down. It's the first part of creating a better financial plan to improve your overall financial health. We'll dive into the numbers and the tactical ways for you to meet your financial goals in future videos, but the key for now is to ask yourself those 5 key questions as you start to think through the financial goals that make the most sense for you. Don't forget, you can download that worksheet in the description below, and in our next video, we'll dive into creating ways to organize your financial life so we can eventually create better systems and automate our way to achieving your financial goals. Hey, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.